Greetings, this is Tomas. Yes, I am a Starseed, Taustation variety, which is different from most. So on behalf of minority Starseeds, welcome. Alright, basically Starseeds are a form of reincarnation. It's no different from somebody having a past life in, say, Japan. In my case, past lives in my soul is that of Epsilon Urandi. So, yeah, it's a primary Tassation colony world that, after a couple of thousands of years of independent evolution and cultural evolution, kind of has its own identity, but we still consider ourselves Tassation. Or Sation for short. One of the main differences is that the gravity of Seisha is like roughly 3 to 4 times that of Earth, whereas Irandi is somewhat lighter, so we pretty much end up with the same shorter stature, just not nearly as bulky as Satians. Okay, well, reincarnation is a form of bioforming to an extent, because your soul takes information and puts it into your DNA, and the information from your soul is basically energy from your sins. But yeah, it's information, and people who, for example, say were Asian multiple past lives and suddenly find themselves incarnating in a European, for example, will retain Asian characteristics, and Starseeds do take extra-Terran characteristics. So I do have Satian characteristics. Notice how wide the bridge of my nose is. I can only wear wired sunglasses. The fixed, the thicker plastic ones, pinch right here, really uncomfortable. And the wired ones, I have to take the nose guides and basically push them up against the back of the lenses to make it comfortable. Also, notice ears are tapered. They're like half an inch longer to be pointed. That's another characteristic. Tapered to pointed ears is common. It's kind of full, the bone structure right here. The extension eyebrow. Another characteristic. Again, it's not it's not complete because the tip of my nose here is not station at all. I got that from Terran DNA, unfortunately. I've never been too fond of it. Okay, so I'm gonna try to use this blue wall behind me as a blue screen. Okay, so here's our galaxy, and as you can see, the location of the Sol is extremely strategic. It's located at what we call the Orion Spur, which is at the end of the Orion arm of our galaxy, is where 3 other arms kind of connect to it. So if you can control the solar system, you can literally control half the Milky Way galaxy. Does that make sense? Okay, one thing that really gets on my last nerve is it's been like 500 some odd years since Galileo proved that the sun does not revolve around the Earth. So why is it that modern day astronomers view the solar system as the center of the galaxy as far as galactic coordinates are concerned? It's a ridiculous assumption. The center of the galaxy is the galactic core. And for you atheists are listening, you want proof of the existence of the creator, take a close look at the galactic core. Alright? Now this thing is like one of those Chinese fireworks where they have long fuses at both ends and you light it and it spins around. Well, in a nutshell, imagine one of those fireworks about 2,000 light years long and about 500 diameter radius. It's a cylinder. It's spinning and it's spewing out stars on both ends. You know, NASA scientists say it's a black hole. That is not a black hole. If anything, it could be some sort of white hole. A lot of NASA scientists are fed a lot of disinformation about how planets work, what they are, what stars actually are, how the galaxy works. Complete disinformation. If you search on YouTube, the real warp drive, you know, these are either paid by certain people in power to keep people misinformed about, you know, interstellar travel in particular. But if you watch, just search YouTube for like real warp drive, you know, Mitsukaku, who I used to have respect for, but I think he's a bullshit artist. They're not talking about warp drive. What they're describing is floating space. If you think about it, you know, if somebody were kept completely in the dark about how aeronautics work, okay, and so aviation, traveling an airplane is impossible. But if you take a balloon and let it go and watch it zip around the air, then it's basically rocketry. So they're kind of like skipping the most basic step. For instance, you know, if you want to fly from San Francisco to Seattle, and they're under the delusion that the airplane travel is impossible, hey, we could build a rocket and we can launch it from San Francisco, and hopefully it doesn't crash into Seattle. Okay, it's kind of like skipping a huge step. You know, so what they're discussing about, if you search YouTube for real warp drive, they're not talking about warp drive. Okay, warp drive warps time. You have forward momentum. What they're talking about is folding space. And you don't use folding space to travel through a galaxy. You fold space to travel from one galaxy to another. Okay, nerds amongst you who are watching this, listening about physics, pay attention to this equation. Alright? Now, this, in technical terms, is the Cochrane equation for warp drive. And I'll explain it to you in a nutshell. Electron magnetism affects gravity. Gravity, in turn, affects time. Warp time, aka time warp drive. And if you watch the unaired pilot of Star Trek, the reason why it was unaired is because it hit way too close to the truth. It made certain powers that be a little uncomfortable. So watch the original unaired pilot of Star Trek. They had LCD screens, little 5-inch LCD screens, and fax machines. And they didn't call them phasers, they called them lasers. Now pay attention to that design. And you search Google for, say, wicked lasers, and just add a handle to one of those, and it's the exact same design, exact same configuration as a modern day handheld 5-watt laser. It's identical. It's also the same one using the laser cannon, and they're all wearing laser goggles. You can go on and on, but for example, one thing they referred to it as in the unaired pilot was the time factor. We broke the time barrier. That's very accurate to how FTL actually works. And that scene in the beginning of The Cage, when they first went to warp drive and the ship becomes semi-transparent, that's factually correct. Because you're warping light, and you're changing light, and so it passes through things, and things look transparent. So that's one of those things that, when they started to show over casting William Shatner as Captain Kirk, they kind of changed all that around. Also, another thing about the unaired pilot is, you know, the aliens are referred to as Telosians, and actually Telosians are actually Nordic humans who live in Antarctica. That's another story. But it refers to as the Telosians. What they're actually talking about are the Greys. It actually tells you the story, the history of the Greys, and one of the reasons why they do their experiments. Just fall out of them. And there's a lot of truth that is hidden within science fiction, whether the authors knew it or not. I believe Gene Roddenberry did. Okay. Well, I hope that was educational. It's kind of like a everything in a nutshell. It's like this first time I'm actually doing this, and I'll get a lot more detailed on some of the subjects I covered, and plus other things in real galactic history. Everything you need to know. Alright, so, au revoir. So.